It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines, brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas. They can be your best friend and help you. DIXIELINE Lumber. We are on remote. We're doing a 2-location podcast today. John Riley joins us from our master control studio at his castle. I'm broadcasting from my man cave here in San Diego. We welcome you to what we think will be a very unique and a very different trial by error podcast. John, good afternoon. Great to have you back. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Lee. You look good with the headset, the lighting. I think it's a big upgrade for you. I'm loving it.
Yeah, we're changing a lot of things. John's in a massive renovation program at his castle, so we're experimenting. Just be thankful we got this sucker on the air. Lots to cover. We're going a lot of different directions on this podcast. A reminder, when we are done, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we put topics on the table, and then we let you participate. After we're done with our opinions, you get the chance to express yours. It's called Fans Forum. And John, for the people on the live stream, how do they participate in Fans Forum?
Fans Forum, it's your chance to get involved. You have a question in the world of sports for Hacksaw, drop your hot take in the live chat, YouTube, X, or Facebook. We'll get you involved.
A reminder, I write about sports every day of the week on my website. Have you checked my website, leehacksawhamilton.com? Brand new format, really different layout. Think you'll like it. You get the written version of the best 15 minutes in sports. You get my one man's opinion columns every day, and you get access to all the different videos that we put up on our YouTube channel. So check out leehacksawhamilton.com. Also, reminder, you can get on our email list. Join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You can register. There's an orange box right at the bottom of the homepage on the website. Fill it out. You'll get 2 newsletters a day. I send out one in the morning. John sends out one in the afternoon. They're absolutely free. So join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. Want you to share. Want you to subscribe. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. And at the same time, help us grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It helps us grow this podcast a great deal. And you can follow me on social media, become part of Twitter All-Star Team. Just write in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, hit the follow button, or at Hacksaw1090, hit the follow button. John, that's business. Let's get to the business of talking sports. Let's start, because we're baseball-centric, all things at the ballpark.
All things at the ballpark. And, holy sheets, that was something last night. Padres aren't cutting it today.
Let's talk about Padre baseball. The rule book says you got to play 9 innings. Doesn't matter what happens early. The game is 9 innings. Just ask Nick Castellanos about what happened in the 9th inning of that game on the weekend at Petco Park. Ask Gavin Sheets what happened in the 9th inning, that game in Milwaukee. These walk-off home runs are really impressive. Very impressive for the Padres to still be in a pennant chase. Here's the stunning thing. The Padres team batting average as of this afternoon's blowout loss in Milwaukee, John, 222. And they're in the pennant race. I know it's early. You could say small sample size, maybe a quarter away, a third of the way into the season. I know it's early, but collectively they're hitting 222. The other big issue is obviously this pitching staff at the back end is kind of ragtag. They're kind of looking for solutions. They don't have solutions. To me, it's almost as if it's going to be a start-by-start situation. But as it relates to where we are right now, tell you what, these guys are just grinding it. These guys on the mound for more starts than none are just grinding their way through these innings, trying to survive, whether it's Michael King, whether it's Randy Vasquez, and whether it's the back end, which right now is really scuffling. They're doing that. And even though the bulk of the lineup, the big money guys in the lineup are not hitting, guys are still coming up with at-bats to save them in games. And whether that's Castellanos, whether that's Gavin Sheets, whether that is Miguel Andujar, guys are saving them. So that's where we are right now. It now takes us to this question, because the Padres are going to go to Seattle to meet now an improved Mariners team. Padres have gone 6-9 now in their last 15, and they're not solving any of their issues. So the burning question, John, today's topic for the Padre fans to get on Fans Forum right now, what is the bigger concern to you? The whole back end of the starting rotation, or is it just the bulk of the batting order that's not producing? John, got to play 9 innings. Castellanos and Sheets have proven that we can salvage some games, but in the bigger picture, I think they got a hell of a lot of problems with starters 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I got half a lineup that's still not hitting. Your reaction?
Okay, first of all, Michael King looked good last night. He definitely pitched well enough to win. But right now, I mean, I'm watching the very end of the game right now live, and they're in the 9th inning, and of course, they're getting some base hits here in the 9th. You know, this is such a frustrating team to watch offensively. That's the problem. And you know, Canning looked terrible today, but Canning looked good in his previous 2 starts, or at least I was optimistic. You know, today things kind of went sideways on the guy. You got some legit points about the back end of the starting rotation, but, you know, Waldron is likely out the door. You know, probably Lucas Giolito, I think, is going to start one of these games in Seattle. Let's see how he does. But really, the problem is the hitting. And the fact that, you know, they're just, I mean, last night, Mizorowski looked awesome. And what did the Padres go, like 18 or 19 straight, you know, 1, 2, 3. It's just they can't get the hit. That's the problem.
It's huge, and there's no solution. I don't know if the juggling of the batting order has impacted virtually all these guys, but nobody's swinging with much confidence at all. I know you're going to say Tatis is hitting the ball on the nose, but he's hitting it at people and hitting into ground outs and all that. Machado looks just totally lost. I mean, at this point of the season, to still be batting 192, that's really disappointing. I don't quite understand the juggling of the batting order this late into the regular season. When you got Merrill, who's finally found a stroke, and now you rest him. You know, and they've done this with some other guys that were hitting, and then they sat him down and put somebody else in the lineup. I just don't understand the methodology with the Padre batting order. But the pitching staff at the back end is really ragtag. And I guess we're just going to have to swallow this and accept this as start to start is probably going to be a struggle. We don't know what we're going to get from Buehler on a start to start basis. Don't know when Marquez is coming back. No conversation whatsoever about Pavetta's status. Waldron, bad outing, decent outing, bad outing, can't be trusted. They got a decision to make with him. And in terms of Giolito, he had a 4.76 ERA in his rehab starts in the Class A California League and AA San Antonio. I don't know that he's any better than the guys that he might be replacing at the back end of this batting order. So to me, this, as good as they are in the standings, they're 6-9 right now, getting ready to go into Seattle. Not a complete baseball team by any stretch, and I don't have any answers.
Yeah, I mean, they're not complete. There are concerns, there are worries, but, you know, you look at this lineup. The lineup is, you're right, they're moving people around. You know, today Merrill gets the day off. I'm really not that worried about that. It just hit the ball. I mean, it just seems like it's like Tatis is in his head right now. You could tell that he's not comfortable. He's waving at pitches. He doesn't seem confident. So in the end, you can critique the lineup. You can critique the batting order. The people are sitting. But in the end, you just need to hit the ball. And it sounds basic, but that's just the problem right now. They're just not getting it done. And it's crazy how they're still winning. I mean, people on Padres Twitter are kind of cracking jokes about how this team is the symbol of procrastination. You know, wait till the 8th or 9th inning, and then maybe you could pull it out then. But as a fan, it just drives you bananas.
Oh, from the movie Bull Durham. Remember the locker room tirade the manager threw all the bats into the shower when the players were there and was screaming at his players? See the ball, hit the ball. That's what the Padres need.
That's it. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
So we go from Padre baseball, fans forum chat box is open. What worries you the most? This batting order's ineptitude, or the fact that they got so many refugees in their so-called major league starting rotation, and none of them have been very consistent outside of King, outside of Vasquez, and the rest of them? It just looks frantic to me. Fans forum chat box is open for Padre fans to jump on board. We go from that. Let's talk Dodger. Let's talk Angel baseball.
Freeway series, good versus bad.
Yeah, Dodgers are finishing up this series with San Francisco. Angels have an off day today, dragging themselves off a rotten road trip. So they're getting ready to play in Los Angeles and Anaheim this weekend. And let's just talk about these two teams. Ohtani. I have a question as to whether he should be the leadoff hitter any longer, because he looks fatigued, he looks pressing. Ohtani's batting average a day ago was at 233. Think about that. The Unicorn was hitting 233, had one home run, and about 95 at-bats. Maybe they need to bounce him down in the batting order so he'll look at a different variety of pitches with maybe some guys on base. Now, they got Mookie Betts back, and he played his first game, and he hit a home run. But the Dodgers are not hitting whatsoever at all. And, in terms of the pitching staff, Blake Snell labored in his first major league start. Glasnow is on the injured list. Roki Sasaki struggles to get through 5 innings. Always a lot of traffic on the bases when he's pitching. They really have not solved who the heir apparent to Diaz is, because sometimes they go to the bullpen and Trinan's trustworthy, and sometimes he's not. So they got a real problem there. Dodgers right now, they're in second place with the Padres right in front of them, and neither one of them's playing really well. In terms of the Angels, I hate to say I told you so, but they're now 16-28. The Angels have lost 14 of their last 18, not hitting, not enough starting pitching, absolute zero productivity in the bullpen, and now they've DL'd Drew Pomerantz. He's got elbow problems. The only saving grace might be Grayson Rodriguez. He pitched in a blowout game this week and went 5 shutout innings, which really surprised people. Alex Manoah made his first appearance in a blowout game. He pitched 5 shutout innings, but they've yet to be given the ball in a game in which they are the starters in the rotation. The Angels right now are just headed towards a 100-loss season. Like I say, they've lost 14 of their last 18. You're going to tell me no problems with the Dodgers. You're going to tell me, yeah, you told us so about the Angels. John, go ahead.
Nobody likes an I told you so. So anyways, let me just bring this screen up here. So I have a question for you, Lee. Like, this Freeway series obviously has gone back to the early 1960s. Has there ever been a time when the Angels have had the upper hand in this rivalry?
Well, they probably did. There were stretches of time in the Autry ownership era when the Angels were pretty good baseball. There were stretches of time, even in the O'Malley era and in the McCourt era, where the Dodgers weren't real good. But that's history. I think baseball fan is more dealing the here and now, where we are with the Dodgers, with just a team that's not hitting with a second highest payroll in baseball, and the Angels at the other end of the spectrum. I mean, and you talk about one team at one end, the Angels, the other team at the top end of the spectrum, the Dodgers. I don't know that we've ever seen as much disparity between Dodgers and Angels as we're dealing with at this hour right now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of Angels history. And obviously they won the World Series. Was that in 2002, I think it was?
Yeah, the Disney ownership.
Yeah, and so probably that was probably the tail end or the middle part of the McCourt era for the Dodgers, right? So that may have been one of those moments where the Angels had upper hand. But I go back in Angels history, and even when they had Reggie and Bobby Grich and Don Baylor and all those guys, the Dodgers had the better lineup, the World Series team with the Garv and the Penguin and all those classic players from 70s Dodgers. I just keep thinking the Angels are due, to be able to win over some of the hearts in LA, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
Not with this roster.
No.
This rebuild is now in its 6th year with Perry Minasian as general manager, And they look no better now than they looked from the day he took over. And they've run a lot of players through there. And they've tried all different consortium of deals to try to find pitching. And at this point, none of it's worked. Like I said, as they open this Freeway Series 2026 edition, Halos have lost 14 of their last 18 games. That's pretty bad baseball.
It is. And from the Dodger point of view, it's interesting that they've been on the skids for a while. But you got to be thinking the Dodgers have spent so much money on this roster, and yet these pesky Padres that are barely squeaking by are beating them in the standings. San Diego fans probably scheduling the parade in downtown, right now in May. But the Dodgers, I wonder if they're wondering if maybe something isn't as perfect as they think it should be in Dodger Town.
I think at the end of the day, the topic will have to be either injuries or age to the batting order. I think that comes into the conversation with Dodger baseball as we're going to wake up and it's going to be a bit of an older baseball team who suddenly may not be the players they used to be. But that's another topic as we march through this entire season. But it's weird. The Padres are still in first place despite the anemia in the batting order and the uncertainty in the starting rotation. And the Dodgers and their payroll are in second place, not by much, but at the end of the day, a lot of baseball still to be played. But we have to deal with the here and now, which is where we are today with this batting order. Okay, we go from that. John, let's peek inside the MLB notebook real briefly.
Yeah, we got some injuries, bad contracts, and prison time.
Yeah, let's just talk about storylines here in Major League Baseball as it relates the Yankees. This is a big setback. They've really been scarred by injury problems to their pitching staff. I mean, going this first third of the season with no Garrett Cole coming off surgery, Rodon coming off his own surgery and physical maladies, and then last night they lost Max Fried, who was one of the elite pitchers in the American League. He came out of the game early against Baltimore. Elbow problem. They're doing an MRI. They don't know what's happened. Something's bothering him in that elbow. And he's pitched a lot of innings, and he's been a very trustworthy starter. So that's a big story with the Yankees right now as to what's going to happen with their pitching staff. Second topic is in San Francisco. They are not happy with Buster Posey. Posey's made a lot of player acquisitions. He's moved a lot of guys out there. He gave out big money contracts, and he looks stuck. He has paid and committed over $600 million to guys like Matt Chapman, Ralph Devers, Willie Adames, and Harrison Bader. Those guys are hitting anywhere between 195 and 235 with virtually no power at all. So the Giants right now are looking at Buster Posey and saying, is this the right guy for this job? We don't understand where we are in his third year of operating this franchise. We're worse now than we've ever been, and we're now got all these contracts wrapped around our neck. Big story there. And the third one is the picture of that Dodger. You remember Yasiel Puig, star that showed up, the kid from Cuba, unbelievable display of power, glove, athleticism early on in his career, tailed off, got hurt, became a problem in the clubhouse. They got rid of him. He's bounced all over the majors, wound up in Mexico, wound up in Korea. He's playing semi-pro ball in Canada right this way. And in a week, he's probably going to prison. Puig has also had a gambling addiction, and he lied to federal prosecutors. They got him on a perjury charge. They're asking for 3 years prison time on obstruction for justice. I mean, just a tragic story, a waste of life of a career from a guy that, John, you and I probably remember when he made his debut for the Dodgers in San Diego. He said, holy cow, where did this guy come from? How good is this kid going to be? And within 3 years' time, it kind of evaporated. And now 5 to 7 years later, the guy's on the front steps going away to prison because of obstruction to justice on a big gambling probe. So, John, that's a quick peek inside that baseball notebook. You got comments?
I do. I mean, I remember being at Camelback Ranch in Puig's rookie year, watching a ball game with my son and his travel ball team. And I was like, who is this guy batting third in the lineup? Does that say Pig or is that a typo? No, it's Yasiel Puig. And I was just blown away by this guy's talent And I loved the showmanship and the hijinks and everything that he was involved with for like the first 2 weeks. And then that act started getting old. And then, yeah, sure, the quality of play went down. But he's just been like a circus act wherever he's been playing, in Korea or Japan or Mexico or whatever. So what a sad turn of events for that guy. It's no wonder the Dodgers let him go, and he's been bouncing around. As far as my Giants are concerned, I don't really have it's like I question the Angels the same way. I don't understand the vision. I don't understand what the 3-year plan is, the 5-year plan is, because Willie Adames, when they signed him, I was like, he's a great defensive shortstop, or usually is very, very good. And his hitting has come a long way, but I didn't think he was worth that kind of money. The Matt Chapman deal, I was like, okay, that makes sense. The Rafael Devers one seemed like a trade to get a bad contract. It was almost like a roll of the dice. And by the way, Harrison Bader's only like for a couple of years. But my point being is that you got a lot of these mid sort of not journeymen, but just sort of solid veterans. But you don't necessarily have anybody that's electric, that's going to hit home runs and excite the crowd and fire everyone up. The Giants just don't have that right now.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of the equation, they've got young pitching, and obviously they've got themselves a hot prospect or two. This young kid Bryce Eldridge is an outfielder who's hit well in the minors, but doesn't look ready to be at the major league level, and yet they're jamming him and force feeding him, and he just looks totally overwhelmed. I think the last I checked, his batting average was 107, and so the question is, why is he still here? Why is he not back at AAA, kind of plying and polishing his trade? And as for the Yankees, Max Fried, he's thrown a lot of innings. He's had great success in Atlanta, great success in New York. I'm scared about this elbow situation. This comes on the heels of what's happened to the other two aces of that Yankee staff.
Yeah. I mean, Fried, San Diegans have an attachment to him because he was a Padre draft choice. That guy's been a workhorse. He's been proven to be the real deal in Atlanta. See, it's tough seeing this. But, like you said, Carlos Rodon's coming back soon, right? So they're going to have a few horses to replace him. That's
where we are. You got to comment, make a statement here. MLB Notebook, the podcast fans forum chat box is open for business. So we go all things baseball. Let's go across the hallway. Basketball, hoops. You ready, John?
Yeah, Rob Pelinka, the Lakers. What's his priority list?
This is interesting. We're moving to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals of the NBA playoffs, and the Lakers are moving to the offseason and a summer of decisions. And there are burning questions everywhere. The first item, status of King James. What do they do with LeBron? What does LeBron want to do with LeBron? Now, remember, he's got a contract that expires. It's worth $52 million. Do they want him back? Rob Pelinka, the general manager, says yes. Does he want to come back? Well, LeBron has not said anything yet, except he wants private time with his family. But there's an economic part of this discussion. Is he willing to take a pay cut to stay in L.A.? I don't know anybody that's going to give him $51 million anywhere around pro basketball. So is he willing to stay in L.A. for maybe $30 million? Or is he going to go back to Cleveland for 30? There's a rumor out there that Golden State might be in the running for him, but that price tag would have to be 30 and kind of him and Stephon Curry in a farewell tour together. So all things LeBron is item one. Item two is Austin Reeves. He will opt out of his contract soon, go back on the open market. Now he wants to stay, but the price tag is $40 million. Are the Lakers going to give him $40 million? Now he's a young pup. Would you better be served to have him and LeBron make the same amount of money, say $30 million to start, which would then give the Lakers more money to use on the open market? Big issue. The third item, if they vacate, let LeBron go, ask LeBron to go, that gives them $50 million to, quote, retrofit the Laker roster around Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. And that really is what I think Pelinka is seriously thinking about. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, John, you look at the Laker roster this afternoon, compare it to the guys still playing in the NBA Eastern and Western Conference Finals, notably Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Do the Lakers look like they're anywhere near talent level to what those other teams are? Absolutely not. So that's the first chunk of questions the Lakers have to decide. The some of the second one, guys out there on the horizon that they might go get. Do you want to make a run at Giannis Antetokounmpo of Milwaukee, who I think is going to be traded, but at what price? And by the way, he's going to be 32, and he's coming off 2 years of injury. So are you going to keep LeBron and try to trade for Giannis, let LeBron go, but have Giannis come in and eat up all your salary cap? And at what price? The Lakers don't have much trade value to deal away unless you put Rui Hachimura in a transaction. And you're going to trade your 2 or 3 number 1 draft picks that you possess now for the first time in years. You're going to put that in a deal for a 32-year-old Giannis. So that remains to be seen there. Just a myriad of all kinds of questions. And I'll tell you what, as much as you may like Laker tradition and all the banners and all the history of the guys, John, that we've talked about, the reality is OKC beat these guys 8 games in a row this season. Look at the difference in talent level in Oklahoma City. All these athletes who can jump and can run versus the age, the deterioration, and the inefficiency of the Lakers defensively. They look so far away from being upper echelon in the NBA. And even with the fact they won 16 of 18 in one stretch at the end of the season, look what happened. Look at the toll it took. So, John, here comes the summer of huge question marks for Laker basketball. And like I say, a lot of things on that priority list. Go ahead. Here's the basketball. No air balls. Take a 3-point shot. Hit it.
Do you know who Marie Kondo is?
No.
You ever heard of her? So Marie Kondo is this interior design person that helps clear away clutter from your home. The Lakers need to hire Marie Kondo to get rid of LeBron James and say, thank you, LeBron. We love you. You meant a lot to us, but now it's time to move on. Now it's time to move on because you can't make a few tweaks to this roster and expect to compete against the Spurs or the Thunder or even the Rockets going long term. They need to make a significant change. In my opinion, you need to use that cap space that would be opened up with a LeBron exiting the team to get like 2 or 3 guys. And then I think positioning the team for a draft to kind of get the next marquee guy, because the Lakers have always had the marquee guy. And right now, LeBron is on the tail end of that. Who's the next big guy that they're going to bring in to pair with Luka? I mean, Austin Reeves has been hella good, far better than we ever expected. I mean, he wasn't even drafted, was he? Was he like a free agent? So they've gotten a lot of value out of him, but they just need more.
Would you take a run at Giannis, or is that reaching for another older player?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is Giannis, hey, bless his heart, but no thanks. We need to be young. We need to be energized. We need guys that are buying in long-term. Giannis had his moment, but he's kind of to me, he is similar to LeBron, kind of older guy, a statesman, has the championship rings, but he's not providing that sizzle that I think a young team can bring.
Okay, Laker line is open for you to join us. Jump on board. I mean, we've put what I think are really important points on the bulletin board for Laker fans to consider, and obvious what that front office has to consider. Invite you to join us. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. We go from Lakers to big rumors involving the other team in town.
Yeah, Steve Ballmer, is he going to be able to fix this thing?
Yeah, let's talk about how they improve the situation. This is going to be very interesting going forward as you talk about where the Clippers are. The Clippers, by virtue of the lottery, wind up getting Indiana's pick. What a stroke of good luck. People in Indiana are sick. Not only did they go from a championship team to a team that was in the lottery, they didn't get a draft pick out of it because they had traded for the Clippers center Zubac, and they put a potential lottery pick in there, and the pick fell to the Clippers at number 5. The Clippers could get a really good player. Can you say Caleb Wilson, the jumping jack forward from North Carolina? But there's also a weird rumor out there that the Clippers have been approached by the Memphis Grizzlies. We would like number 5. We'll give you our 16th pick and our 32nd pick and Ja Morant. I don't know that I'd touch that guy, except you get that guy here in LA with Kawhi Leonard and maybe stronger, tough guy coaching with Tyrone Lue, and maybe you can renovate this guy and make him a more complete player, get yourself a star, and still keep a first-round pick and get another second-round pick by virtue of the deal. That's the first big rumor of the offseason. There are going to be a lot more rumors, I firmly believe, in this offseason, John, involving teams at the top trading back, guys trying to trade up. But stroke of luck, would you rather have Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina joining Kawhi and the other young guys on the roster? Or would you do something bold and say, that's a proven talent, maybe we can get Ja Morant without his baggage?
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's a proven head case. And then you bring him to LA with all the Hollywood glitz and all the distractions in town. I mean, that guy's going to be clubbing all night. So I don't think that's a wise move. But I do like the idea, of doing something that is, how should I say, is going to give the opportunity for the franchise to pivot, to kind of set a new direction, because we've already said goodbye to Paul George, James Harden. Frankly, there's a chance Kawhi might even not play next year, right? So I think they need to kind of reposition, almost rebrand the franchise for another run, especially given their new arena there in LA.
Well, we're all waiting to see, John, what the end result of the investigation in the Kawhi Leonard salary cap circumvention case is. At this point in time, we don't know. Last topic on the table. Let's bring it back home. Let's talk college basketball, where I look at San Diego State and this headline. Uh-oh.
What's the mean? They've been recruiting in Europe here, Lee.
So let's talk about San Diego State from a couple different directions. It's weird to feel that we have to use the term rebuild as it relates to SDSU basketball, because we've been so enthused and enthralled by the greatness of what Steve Fisher did, what Brian Dutcher has done. But when you lose 9 quality players, 5 guys, 6 guys go into the transfer portal, and you're obviously a mid-major in terms of the amount of money you have to use, is really the storyline. But at this point in time, Aztecs, I think, have scored pretty well in Europe. They've gone where they had not really gone before. And the latest is the 6'9" power forward from Italy, Luca Vincini. This is a kid that has played 6 years of semi-pro into pro basketball in Italy. He's played with men. He's coming here with a couple of years of eligibility left. He's more of a 6'9" power forward, which complements the 6'9" shooting forward they got from Croatia, which complements the 6'2" Italian guard, the jumping jack, which complements what they've also done in terms of guys coming back, etc. This is, to me, it sounds weird to say rebuild at San Diego State, but boy, this will be a clean piece of paper. There's a lot of new players that Brian Dutcher is going to have to make mold together. So that's the basketball component of this topic. The other is the economic component. San Diego State fans, friends, and alums just got in their mails the ticket subscription upgrade for season tickets at Viejas Arena. They are raising ticket prices 7.5% across the board. They say they need to do this to continue to co-fund for basketball players. They've raised a lot of money for NIL to keep players, but they need even more. John, courtside tickets, you sitting next to the rich people, those are $2,338 season tickets courtside. Mid-level, upstairs, $2,100 season tickets. Sitting in the end zone, $1,300 season tickets. The prices have really gone up. And I did not realize this till this week. They had only 6 sellouts last season. Their attendance was down by more than 1,000. They drew just a shade over 11,500 at Viejas, where they've been drawing well over 12,000 for years upon years. So San Diego State making an economic decision. The last time they made an economic decision, it wasn't a good one vis-a-vis the football program. And look at the erosion of season ticket support for SDSU football. Now they're bumping up the prices again. That's pretty pricey stuff for a team that did make the tournament, a team that's going into a different conference, a team that lost so many quality players. So can Dutcher bring this thing right back immediately? He's never had to rebuild. This is going to be a bit of a rebuild, but wow, that price hike that's pretty significant, is it not? John, go ahead, take the floor, talk about what you want about the roster and about what you got in your email for season tickets.
I'll tell you what, for the season tickets, I think this is a good move because you want your fans to be bearing some of the weight of this new NIL world. They've got to build up their roster. So in this case, it's better than charging students who don't necessarily care about the basketball program. You're going after the fans that want to support the team. And if they're not already donating to the Mesa Foundation or any of the other, cooperatives to gather NIL cash, then at least, adding another 7.5%, 10%, 15% to the ticket price, that is where the burden should be as far as with the fans that want to support this and provide more resources for Dutcher. Now, as far as the roster is concerned, I'm kind of excited. I mean, get two different Lucas coming from Europe. That's kind of exciting. But the best part about all of this is that Brian Dutcher is not crying. He's not saying, woe is me. Oh, I wish back in the good old days we were able to recruit different people. And, he's just accepting reality. He says that the world has changed. I'm making changes in the way I'm going about this. I am still going to build a first-class roster. And I like that sort of refreshing attitude about it. And he was even saying that, Coach Lewis is doing the same thing in football. You just got to address reality, even if that means reloading every year.
I'll be intrigued to see the quality of the guys from Europe because he's never really ventured to Europe before. He's obviously built some young players vis-a-vis kids that came from Africa. Let's see what this thing is. But I think you would agree with me. Rebuild is the correct byword this year at San Diego State, and we've never had to invoke that since the first moments of Steve Fisher's first couple of years here.
Yeah, it's reality today, Lee.
Okay, we are at halftime. You got a comment about the Aztecs? Feel free, jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. And I know there are do-it-yourselfers out there who watch this podcast, guys in the garage, guys in the basement, guys doing projects in the back patio. If you're into that, that means you are a guy that likes tools. John, talk about what DIXIELINE offers for the do-it-yourselfer.
Well, DIXIELINE's slogan is build it, fix it, and enjoy it. So if you are a do-it-yourselfer, you like to build things, whether you're adding a bathroom or a kitchen to your house, you might be, I got you on the screen, Lee. You might be also wanting to build some flower beds in the springtime here during this time of the season. Maybe putting in a patio cover in the backyard because you're going to be out there entertaining. Maybe you got an outdoor kind of little kitchen out there. You want to have some nice decking, some patio furniture to go with that. DIXIELINE is your place if you want to build it. But even if you just want to fix it, you want to fix your front door. In fact, the DIXIELINE door tech came to my house today to help us with our door. And, we just need to make some improvements. Some of the parts have worn out. They're going to help us get it fixed. That was terrific. Great customer service from DIXIELINE. And then, of course, when you get your house all dialed in, then you can enjoy it. So DIXIELINE, build it, fix it, enjoy it. They're great here in San Diego, 100 years in town.
We are at halftime, our podcast. And for those of you wondering, where the hell are these two guys doing their podcast from? John is in permanent lifetime timeout. John is in the middle of renovating the castle. If I told you where John was doing your podcast from, you'd start to laugh. He's in a corner room with a card table and his equipment. It's like a little kid put in timeout. And because it's not big enough for both of us, we decided we would experiment, and I would do my share of the podcast from my man cave. My man cave has bookcases and historical books and baseball caps and all that paraphernalia here. So that's the ambiance that we're doing. I'm resting comfortably in my man cave, and John's in permanent timeout like a little kid in the corner at a card table and with a white wall around him. So that's why we're doing the podcast this way. But listen, at the end of the day, when we're done with this podcast, we open it up to you to participate. If you'd like to help us with interior decor here or interior decor in John's corner of his man cave, you feel free to join us. It's called Fans Forum. John, for everybody that's on live stream, how does Fans Forum work?
Okay. By the way, you are sitting on a gold mine in your man cave, Lee. You got bigger bookshelves. So we got to get you repositioned in that room because it's classic hacksaw throughout that whole room. It's good stuff. Anyways, fans forum, if you got a question or comment in the world of sports, if you want to talk about Padres, Dodgers, hey, we even got a young lady in our live stream saying, Lee, it's not just guys who listen to this sports show in 2026. You got some ladies out there. If you want to get on the ladies line, drop a take, that doesn't suck into the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get you involved in fans forum.
And a reminder, when we're done, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we put topics on the table and then we express opinions. We obviously let you join us on Fans Forum. Also, have you ever checked my website? John and I redesigned my website before John decided to redesign his home. New look to my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's much easier to navigate. You got the best 15 minutes in sports. It's all written. You got the one man's opinion column, which is all written. And then, because John drank too much coffee one night, stayed up all night, we decided we were going to put all of our media, all of our videos on my website homepage, and you can access them absolutely free. Want you to share, want you to subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Me in my man cave, him in lifetime timeout in his man cave. We also obviously want you to find out more about the world of sports. Get the newsletters. John and I offer 2 sports newsletters a day. You can subscribe to that, become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. Just fill out the email form right on the homepage of my website. And you can help make this thing grow. Give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button, or give us a 5-star rating on Apple. We're in the air, on the air, everywhere vis-a-vis social media. We have gone global. Think about that. Absolutely amazing. John, I'm ready for the second half. You got anything you want to add to this whole social media shtick that you got us involved in?
I'm just so happy we got you a headset with a microphone. And we have decent lighting, and so I'm hoping to see your man cave kind of evolve over time. And we're going to get a little bit more of the behind the curtain of Hacksaw. I think that'll be kind of fun. Okay, let's move on. We got some NFL news, Lee. They're changing the schedule.
Yeah, let's talk about the National Football League later tonight. The schedule will come out. Nice TV Guide logo. Little chunk of history here, John. Do you remember back in the day when NFL games were on CBS, NBC, ABC? All the games, and it'd be fixed position. You watch it 1 p.m., you watch it at 4 p.m., you see your local team, you'd see the the game of the week. And then here came, obviously, the greatness of Howard Cosell, Dandy Don, GIF, Monday Night Football. And then here came ESPN and all the unique things they could bring. And then here came Thursday Night Football, and here came 3 games on Christmas. Here came the 3 games on Thanksgiving. Here came the international games abroad. And here came a Wednesday night game, Thanksgiving Eve. And by the way, here came paywalls. So the landscape has really changed in the National Football League, just not in the last 2 to 5 years, but obviously in chunks of decades going back. So the NFL schedule will be coming out later tonight. We'll talk more extensively about that on Monday. Meanwhile, they just ranked the strength of schedule for the coming season. And boy, there are some teams that have a loaded schedule. Da Bears are going to play the toughest schedule of anybody in the league. The strength of schedule, their opponents have a .550 winning percentage, which is tough. How bad is it going to be in Miami? They're rebuilding. Miami's got the second toughest schedule of all. Arizona, with a quarterback problem, they got the third toughest schedule of all. What a miserable season that's going to be. You got Green Bay with the 4th toughest. Kansas City says it's going to be a different team. They got Mahomes coming off that knee surgery. They've got the 5th toughest schedule. The Chargers are a little bit farther down. I think they were ranked 9th. The Rams are a little bit farther down from that. I think the Raiders might have been ranked 9th in their strength of schedule. And down at the bottom, the quarterback quandary in Cleveland, they're going to play the easiest schedule of anybody in the National Football League. They are 32nd ranked. Look at the one-loss percentage of the teams that they're going to play. The Saints And Cincinnati, with Joe Burrow and a rebuild defense, going to have the third easiest schedule. So that's a look at the strength of schedule. You can locate your favorite team. And again, each of the schedules will be out tonight. I'm going to write about it in a one man's opinion column that'll be posted on my website tomorrow morning. But the landscape, man, it has really, really changed. I don't know if it's for the better. I know it's all over the place because you got to go searching now to find out where your team is and what game you might want to watch and how do you access that game. John, you always used to buy TV Guide. What do you think about what the landscape has become?
You probably got some TV guides in that bookcase behind you. I mean, I used to live on TV Guide. You remember they used to have the NFL roster for some of the Monday night games?
Yes.
That'd be in the corner page of your program. So it's cool that you have the TV Guide thing going. But for me, back in the day, it was CBS was covering the NFC, and that was Brent Musburger and Irv Cross and Jimmy the Greek, and then on the AFC was on NBC. And I just remember like Merlin Olsen and maybe Bryant Gumbel, was he over there on the studio? Yep. It might have been. And then of course ABC was Monday Night Football. Now, help me if I'm understanding this correctly, that the Thursday night games in the new upcoming NFL season are on ESPN, but not on Amazon Prime?
I don't know if they're all like that. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check because, as I say, this whole thing has flipped because more people are coming in. Netflix has now got a share of the games. Prime's got share of the games, etc. I'll have to break that down, but there are so many different places you have to go search now to get your games, and a whole bunch of them are now behind the paywall. I'll be intrigued to see what the fans' response is. The NFL's response is we put 87% of our games on free TV, including if you got a team in your region, all your team's games are on your local stations. So it's not like we're taking everything behind the paywall. But that being said, they're taking playoff games behind paywalls, and obviously they're now taking some marquee holiday games behind paywalls too.
I think we're abusing the definition of words here, because when you are getting your programming from Cox Cable or Spectrum or whatever cable program, or you're on DirecTV, it's still not free. It's still behind, quote, a paywall. The only ones that are getting it for free, for real free, are the rabbit ears people that are getting it over the air. So it's just that the world has changed, and so we're seeing games on different networks. I like the fact that Prime is making an investment into their, pregame, postgame show. And frankly, I like the Thursday night pregame, postgame show. It's extended, and they do a lot of interesting things. So these different, platforms are kind of bringing their own spin to it. And to me, that's exciting. But I want to talk briefly about the schedule, the rankings here that you've got, because what's interesting is that the NFL is a marketing machine. The NFL has scheduled quality public relations just about every week of the year. And we don't talk about the schedule when the schedule comes out for baseball or for basketball. We'll talk about it with college football, and here we're talking about it in the NFL. So it gives us something to talk about. I look at that, and at first I was thinking, okay, you can make an argument the Bears play a tough schedule. But we remember last year, who was it? It was the Patriots that played an easy schedule. And we thought that they were going to get exposed in the playoffs, but they kept advancing.
Concur. And again, when the schedule comes out much later tonight, and again, I'll write about it, and it'll be on my website first thing tomorrow morning. Understand this. Piece of the schedule equation is who plays where at what time of the year and who's sandwiched around that marquee game. That's a big issue. Is your team forced to play 3 road games in a row? Are there a couple big name teams in that 3 consecutive road games? If some teams will get 3 home games in a row, or there's a bye week in the mix, maybe some guys don't travel for a month. So, the intangibles wrapped around who you're playing have to be taken into consideration. And once you look at the schedule, say, oh, that's a tough schedule, but how does it fall in terms of who you play at the start, who you may have to play at the end of the season, cold weather cities, things like that.
Well, the 49ers have 2 international games.
I was just going to mention that. They've already released the international schedule. I don't understand why John Lynch, why the ownership would accept this in San Francisco. They're going to play the Rams opening game, Melbourne, Australia. That's a 19-hour trip to get to Melbourne. That's one. And then they're going to play a second international game down in Mexico City in the middle of the season against the Minnesota Vikings. That's kind of strange to me that the 49ers, and again, continuity and stability for your training and preparation is really, really important. I just don't understand why they would accept two international games. The other one is the Rams. The Rams are going to play Green Bay on Thanksgiving Eve, which is a Wednesday night game. That is so hard to have to play two games in such a short period of time. Yes, there'll be like almost like a mini bye on the back end. So some of these teams, it's tough. If you're going to play Thursday football, that's hard. But now they're asking the Rams not only to play this international game in Australia, they're asking the Rams to play a Wednesday night game on a very short work week. So this is really intriguing to see how this whole thing lays out.
Yeah, how about playing the NFL game at 7,000 feet in Mexico City? I mean, that's going to be a test.
Concur with you wholeheartedly. So that's where we are on schedules. You get excited about the release of the schedule? I want to hear what you've got to say. Fans Forum chat box is open. We move from that NFL topic to a really unique NFL topic coming out here on the West Coast as it relates to those guys, the Chargers.
Whose team is it, Lee? Is it Herbert's or is it McDaniel's?
We're talking about what just happened at the minicamp, just concluded. The Chargers wrapped up their 3-day rookie minicamp, and Mike McDaniel was the one that spent all the time at the podium. Jim Harbaugh was not to be heard nor seen, which I found kind of really unique. Mike McDaniel talked about Justin Herbert, the quarterback, and his quotes were really strong. But the burning question I have is, you're making all these roster decisions based on Mike McDaniel being your offensive coordinator, and there's no doubt that he brings kind of a flamboyant resume to the job. But the burning question I have is, you let him have input into free agent signings. You let him have input into who they drafted, especially in the offensive line, and he might not be there 11 months from now. He might be a hot candidate to go be somebody else's head coach next time around. So that's the burning question I have. Is Jim Harbaugh giving up decision-making power so that Mike McDaniel can succeed, and then McDaniel might use that as a jumping-off point to go somewhere else? Now, in terms of the relationship McDaniel to Justin Herbert, there's two sides to a dollar bill. One side of the dollar bill says Justin Herbert is a spectacular quarterback, has thrown for a ton of yards and touchdowns, has carried this thing. He's won 22 games the last 2 years. The flip side of that dollar bill is he hasn't won a playoff game. He's been miserable at the end of each of the last couple of seasons, and even worse in postseason play. So can Mike McDaniel unlock the mystery of Justin Herbert with a very, very different offense? And Mike McDaniel used words like he must be elite in everything he does at quarterback in my system. He has to refine his footwork, refine his timing throws, refine his delivery. So they're changing mechanics. They believe with research that Justin Herbert can be unbelievably dangerous with out of the shotgun or a three-step drop on the ball away under 2.5 seconds. That's what they're going to try to refine the Charger offense in. Now, at the end of the day, though, what has never been said is Harbaugh may have ruined Justin Herbert, because Harbaugh with Greg Roman let that quarterback get sacked 105 times, deep drops, hold it in the pocket, and get blasted. That's happened 2 years in a row, 105 sacks, unbelievable number of hits and pressures on the quarterback. But Jim Harbaugh has never taken any of the blame for what he designed and he allowed Greg Roman to design that led to this quarterback almost getting decapitated. And again, at the end of the day, I look at this roster. I thought a very unique draft. They bypassed a whole bunch of offensive linemen early. Did take a pass rusher, I understand that. But they are undersized at offensive guard. They're banking on 2 washout number 1 draft picks to be their starting offensive guard. I'm going to be intrigued to see how productive they're going to be with the McDaniel-type players that they acquired. And it spins back to the original question. Why is Harbaugh giving up some ownership and leadership of this team by drafting players or signing guys that McDaniel wants? And McDaniel might be here 11 months and leave as a head coaching candidate somewhere else. And can McDaniel solve this with a different type of player than Harbaugh kept saying he needed to run the Michigan type of offense? John, it's a very complex mosaic I'm painting for you here. Go ahead, color in some of your comments. McDaniel, Harbaugh's responsibility, the new coordinator, that young veteran quarterback.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is kind of rare. I mean, for an NFL coach to, not have such a big ego, to let another guy be in a spotlight. And frankly, if you're going to hire a coach, then hire him to coach. And you're bringing McDaniel in not only because of his offensive scheme, but frankly for his personality and what he brings to the table. So I think this is all good. I mean, this shows a lot of maturity on Jim Harbaugh, because we certainly know that what they were doing before wasn't working. So now we have a chance for something new. But my question to you, Lee, is McDaniel has been making comments about Quentin Johnston, thinking that he's going to be this big, tough guy receiver that we can count on. I mean, do you think Quentin Johnston can be turned around?
I don't have a problem with the comments on the upside of Quentin Johnston. We have seen explosiveness, we've seen power, we've seen yards after catch, we've seen acrobatic catches. Obviously, the inconsistency of Quentin Johnston still is out there. So the only problem I have with Q is they picked up an $18 million option on the final year of his contract. Why would you do that? If he can't take the next jump, you're stuck with $18 million against the cap with a guy that would have now been here 4 years and not gotten to the top of the class. That's the unique part of the Quentin Johnston thing. But I'll be intrigued to see how he fits, what they can teach this guy. But we've seen no motive consistency Sunday to Sunday, John, with Quentin Johnston coming off the line of scrimmage. Did he catch 50 and 55 passes the last 2 years? Yes. Did he have big play yardage? Yes. Did he have drops? Did he go MIA? Hell yes. So I don't know really where he is on a Sunday-by-Sunday basis, but them picking up the fifth-year option already for a guy that's been so erratic, I found that really surprising. So they're locked in. They must really believe that they can get the message to this guy of everything he has to do week by week, not on the odd occasion.
So a question for you, Lee. I mean, with all of your history with the Chargers, do you have an offensive coordinator in Charger history that you thought was a really bright light, someone that you thought you had tremendous confidence in, kind of like the way the Chargers have confidence in McDaniel?
Well, I would say during the Schottenheimer era that encompassed Rivers, Tomlinson, Gates, that was a really great group of offensive years that we had with Marty Schottenheimer. But it didn't equate into going to the Super Bowl, which was a huge disappointment. The years that I was the voice of the Chargers, we did win playoff games and we did get to the Super Bowl. But that was a different structure. That was Bobby Ross and a guy he hired out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, Ralph Friedgen. And they built a power run game and threw deep passes off the power run game, and they utilized tight ends. That was not explosive. That was more physical force football. That was good combo, but Humphreys got hurt, career over. Offensive linemen all had knee surgeries within 1 year span. That group that got them to the Super Bowl was no longer the same group there. Obviously, prior era, Air Coryell, my goodness, how great was that? That Ernie Zampese, Don Coryell, Dan Fouts, Winslow, Joyner, JJ, what a phenomenal group. Chuck Muncie, Pete Johnson, James Brooks. Collectively, they had about a 5-year run where they used all the erasers on the pencil because they were wiping out records in the NFL offensive record book. That was the greatest time of all, but they never got to a Super Bowl either. So, again, coordinators got to have the right players. Head coaches, coordinators have to let this thing grow. It did under the Coryell era. The Charger era under Boss Ross was kind of a short time period. I thought I was so fascinated by what the Schottenheimer era was, but it never got to where I thought it could have gotten. Answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, was Norv Turner ever an offensive coordinator for the Chargers, or was he only just the head coach?
No, he was an offensive coordinator and got promoted. And of course,
Okay.
he had been a head coach other places, but had not done very well. I think as a head coach, he was a hell of an offensive coordinator. But I don't think he was. I don't think he was a good head coach. But a great gentleman. Still lives here in Rancho Santa Fe. I just think his X's and O's and his whole thing about matchups was really spectacular. But not as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, and then by the way, Ernie Zampese, didn't we talk about him a couple of years ago? Did he go into the Hall of Fame, or did he pass away? There was Ernie Zampese's news some time ago.
And I believe he passed, and that there should be a hallway in Canton for the uniqueness of assistant coaches who dedicated their whole life to being successful on somebody else's staff. Those guys don't get anywhere near the accolades they think they should. Whether it's the main part of the Hall of Fame or whether it's a special honor for longtime assistants, maybe that'll happen somewhere down the road.
All right.
Okay, that's all things NFL. You got an opinion? Feel free. Jump on board. You're a Charger fan. Whose team is it becoming? And do you think McDaniel's impact on Justin Herbert will be better than Harbaugh and Greg Roman's impact on Justin Herbert? Fans Forum chat box is open because we ask pointed questions. We want you to respond. We go from that. Hockey Hotline is open for business. John, what an unbelievable 24 hours.
Yeah, wild night on the ice and off the ice.
Let's talk about off the ice. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers have fired their coaches. Wow. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs axed Craig Berube. Berube only had 32 wins out of an 82-game schedule with a talent-laden team. Berube had a track record, first in Toronto, prior to that in St. Louis, of unbelievable playoff failures. This year, they didn't even make the playoffs. Craig Berube is out. John Chayka is the new general manager. He's a little bit of a loose cannon. It's going to be fascinating to see what direction they go. Hottest name out there, but does he want to work for those guys, is Bruce Cassidy, the former head coach, Boston, Las Vegas. Berube is out. Next thing they got to decide, they've got a whole bunch of players with no trade clauses in their contract. These guys are going to give up the no waive movement clause and allow them to rebuild this team. What are they going to do with Austin Matthews, the former 60-goal scorer? Does he want out? Will they ask him to waive the no trade clause in his contract? Is he going to cooperate with them? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Maple Leafs. Second one is Edmonton. Exit meeting midweek. We're talking about their head coach, Chris Knobloch. He evidently made the comment to ownership, this team cannot win with this core of players. We need to make changes. I was told he made that comment yesterday. This morning, Knobloch was fired. And this guy had a lot of success. He got the Oilers to the Stanley Cup Finals twice, but they didn't win. And they got knocked out in the first round this year by the Anaheim Ducks. Burning question. Is this Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl's fault? I don't think so. I think it's the fault of the general manager, Stan Bowman, not being able to solve the goaltending problem and not being able to get unique, quality second and third line players around McDavid and Draisaitl. So Knobloch was fired. His record was 166, 99, and 21 in Edmonton. He did a really good job in a really tough set of circumstances. I think the front office failed. The coach in the front office obviously has failed 97 and 29, the two superstar players. Story in Calgary. Let's talk about the Flames. Do you recall Johnny Gaudreau, the terrible tragedy, the drunk driving accident where a drunk driver hit and killed Gaudreau and his brother, who were both doing off-season training on cycles outside Philadelphia? The man who's been charged with a double homicide has asked his conviction be overturned because, quote, mistakes were made when they gave him the blood alcohol count that showed him having a level of 0.85. The legal limit in New Jersey and Pennsylvania is 0.81. He was at 0.85, and he maintains they made a mistake when they administered the test. This is a god-awful story. He killed two people and he wants his conviction thrown out of court. This is really ugly. And the last one, Colorado Avalanche. John, I don't know while you were painting walls in your castle last night, whether you saw what happened in the final 2 minutes. Colorado, Minnesota. Avalanche led the series 3-1. Minnesota was blowing them out. Avs scored 2 goals in 2 minutes and 6 seconds at the end of the third period, and then won it very early in the start of overtime. Colorado moves to the Western Conference Finals, and Minnesota, which had a really great team, out of the playoffs. Terrible goaltending problems in Minnesota. If you get hot goaltending, it can carry you through the playoffs. And if your goaltending gets upside down, you're in big, big trouble. Minnesota Wild season is over. So, John, Hockey Hotline, tell you what, off-season NHL for the O Canada Network, they're going to go crazy with the storylines in Toronto and Edmonton, and still to come what's going on in the playoffs. Carry on. Your turn.
Carry on. I have a question for you, Lee. I mean, because you're a longtime hockey broadcaster, minor league hockey. You were announcing what the WHL when they were head to head with the NHL. We've talked a lot about your connection with Slapshot and all that history, but besides Slapshot, is there another part of your career in hockey that you find really memorable?
I remember the business of hockey. Growing up watching, again, I grew up on the East Coast. I had access to Hockey Night in Canada. That was the first time I watched it. I said, holy cow, is this a unique presentation? So I grew up in the era of the Montreal Canadiens, the Flying Frenchmen, and the greatness of the Maple Leafs and the original Six and the Boston Bruins, and obviously the Broad Street Bullies, the Flyers, and the Big Bad Bruins. And so I grew up in a different era and got addicted to hockey that way. And then obviously having the opportunity as a younger broadcaster to travel and to do pro hockey. I mean, to broadcast out of Montreal, to broadcast out of Toronto, to broadcast out of Quebec City, to go broadcast the first game ever in Gretzky's building in Edmonton. So that's how I got addicted to hockey, and that's who I grew up on. And I made friends with people in the 1970s when I first broke in doing hockey. I'm still friends with now, and I exchange emails with, and executives and things, people who still work for clubs and scouts. So I've paid attention to it a great deal. And of course, as I call in the O Canada Network, I deal with guys doing podcasts and sports talk radio across the Canadian cities. So I exchange emails and information with them all the time. So that's why and hockey has exploded here in the States. You know, I think last week, John, we talked about the fact that hockey TV ratings this year are up 43%. And that's because all the games on the playoffs now are all on TV. So that's been a fabulous part of what we have seen this whole thing become. So it's great. I mean, those are part of my roots, in addition to my roots being in the National Football League as a longtime voice of the Chargers and then doing the Seahawks, and obviously my roots being a sports talk guy. But I grew up in hockey, so I'm still involved in hockey.
Well, how long did the WHL last? I mean, how long was it around?
World Hockey Association.
Oh, WHA.
I want to say 7 or 8 years. Unfortunately, I got to Cleveland, and it was the last year that Cleveland was in business because the league was starting to fall apart. And there had been merger talks that the NHL was going to take on WHA teams, but Cleveland got left out, and then the WHA eventually merged, and I think they only took 4 teams to the National Hockey League, and all the others got bought out along the way.
Interesting. Hockey history with Haxa.
That's right. And podcast chat. The chat box is open if you're a hockey fan. I want to hear from somebody who's an NHL fan to talk about what's happened in Toronto and what just went down in Edmonton with this greatest team never to win a Stanley Cup. Okay, John, from hockey, we'll just jump around because we got other hot topics on the table.
Yeah, to go to the SportsWire. And who do we got? We got PGA at the top.
PGA Championships are off and running. Today's the first round of the PGA Championships. Uh-oh. You try to find some big names at the top of the leaderboard, John? They're not there. This is a shocker. Rory McIlroy really struggled today. I think he was +4 the last I checked in the first round of the PGA Championships in Philadelphia. PGA is a Grand Slam event. DeChambeau must have left his best golf clubs in a bag somewhere in Saudi Arabia. He shot a 76 today. I mean, he may not even make the cut. What an atrocious start for him. So, wow, this is really, really strange. This golf course in Philadelphia, it's long. Keep it in the fairway. But the greens in this golf course are almost like it's a U.S. Open. They're undulating. They're waves. There's bumps on the greens. The golfers talked about it all this week. So that's fascinating to see, who's going to survive the 4 rounds in Philadelphia. But some of the marquee names, real first round, not good. Meanwhile, press conferences, they talked a little bit about the golf course this week, and leading to the first round today at the PGA, they talked about the LIV. Every golfer that was at the podium was asked questions about the LIV. And I've never heard this statement before. This came from John Rahm. John Rahm said, the media, John, that's you. That's me. That's everybody else. The media has manufactured the hate about the LIV. Now, that's a little bit of a reach. The media did not sanction the use of blood money from Saudi Arabia to bribe these guys to leave. The media was not responsible for Phil Mickelson being the first one to jump ship and take a payday and then tamper with all of his friends who had PGA Tour cards and said, come join me. I don't think that's a media thing. The media is not the one that told all the fans in the U.S. at the Trump golf courses, don't attend the LIV golf tourneys where nobody has shown up, and they're going to pull all the U.S. stops off the tour card next year if there is an LIV. So I'm a little surprised that John Rahm would said, John, it's your fault. Hacksaw, it's your fault. It's the media's fault. That seems to me to be really far-fetched. And then Rory McIlroy, who's spoken on both sides of the street about this, love him, hate to see this happen, got to save the sport. Rory McIlroy said yesterday, guys on the PGA Tour who still have their tour cards, we can't forget and we can't forgive. So that's the latest PGA. Horse racing, Saturday, Preakness, Laurel in Maryland, second Jewel Triple Crown horse racing. The top horses are not going to run. This is a problem they have not yet solved. The Kentucky Derby winner, Golden Tempo, fatigued, not training well coming out of Churchill Downs, not going to run at the Preakness. Renegade, who was the Derby favorite, stormed and almost won the race, finished second, not going to run in the Preakness at Pimlico. 14 horses you don't know are all going to be there. It's going to be a wide open race, but it begs the bigger problem, John. The calendar of events isn't working any longer. And they've talked for a year about changing the schedule. Run the Derby. Let's have a 3-week window. Run the Preakness. Let's have another 3-week window and then run the Belmont Stakes, maybe July 4th weekend. They should change this. I don't understand the rationale. The Derby is a fixed position event. Why can't we just run the Preakness on Memorial Day weekend and let's run Belmont on July 4th holiday? Why would you not want to do that? Because now the ability to run off a Triple Crown, it doesn't exist. Trainers don't think they can put their horses back on the track with just 2 weeks rest to run the Preakness and in a couple more weeks before they run the Belmont Stakes. So that bears watching. Big weekend IndyCar racing for all those lugnut heads. IndyCar qualifying this weekend. Today, yesterday, drivers going 228 at Indianapolis, trying to get their setups correct for qualifying for the 500 on Saturday and the pole qualifying for the top 10 finishers on Sunday. 228 miles an hour for the Alex Palou's of the world qualifying Saturday, Sunday. Soccer, 2 angles to the story. Losing streak ends. SDFC blitzed Austin FC last night 5-0 in MLS play. Bunch of goals early. They played really well, but Austin FC is not a power. So they broke the 10-match losing streak. But the shocker, the novelty of SDFC soccer seems to have worn off, John. They had only 11,000 at Snapdragon Stadium, where they've been averaging 35,000 per game. So this big drought, the whole Chucky Lozano thing, has really impacted the fans. Fans aren't going to SDFC games. We used to draw 35 for the first full season and the start of this year, and you're down to 11. Wow, that's a huge drop-off. And I'm not gonna say that ownership screwed this Lozano thing up, but they had to know that Chucky Lozano was a disciplinary distraction in all the years of his career. And yet they guaranteed him $7 million per year in a structured deal. He's getting paid $9.3 million this year not to pay, John, and they can't trade the contract. Nobody wants the contract, and Lozano has refused to accept the deal, and they don't want him back. And now Lozano, last night, was left off the Mexico World Cup training roster as they begin preparing for the June World Cup. This thing has been so mishandled, including what SDFC's ownership did by committing this volume of money to this guy who had a track record of baggage with him, and now they can't move him and they're stuck, and they can't use that money to go get other places. So, John, we'll start it with the PGA, go to the Preakness. You're at Indy at the Oval, and you're on the pitch to talk soccer.
You know, blaming the media is weak sauce, man. That's what politicians do, is blame the media. Now, there are a lot of legit storylines to cover on this thing. And I mean, you can't blame them for, talking about the Saudi money and, the crown prince in Saudi Arabia. Didn't they knock off a journalist? I mean, there's a lot of legitimate criticism about the way this business was conducted. And yeah, these guys jumped ship. I don't necessarily want to make it that punitive for them to come back. But in the end, don't blame the media. That's weak. The Preakness is interesting because you brought up the schedule before. Didn't you suggest that it was maybe having the Triple Crown on Memorial Day and then on 4th of July and then on Labor Day? Do you think that could work?
No, because the Kentucky Derby date is not the issue. It's the period of time between race 1 and race 2 and then race 3. I mean, there's all kinds of creative ways you can do it. And if you tag it, the second and third races around a holiday, why not? Horse racing fans will go to Preakness at Pimlico in Maryland if it's Memorial Day weekend. Horse racing fans who love it will go to New York for if it's July 4th. But what they have to do is they have to find the space between each race so the trainers can get those horses physically ready to bounce back to race. And doing it on 2 weeks' time doesn't work. 3 weeks would be much better. And you just go to the networks and saying, we're going to make it a big holiday event for your telecast. Let's do this. But they haven't done it yet. They've talked about it for more than a year. Has not happened yet.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay, we go from that. Are you an IndyCar fan?
I like the pageantry. Remember we talked about that, where they have, they sing all the Indiana songs, pregame. Remember they used to have Jim Neighbors out there singing songs. And so I like the pageantry. A buddy of mine went to Indiana, to get his master's degree. And he talked about how it is such a big party in Indianapolis. The whole community is there. Friends of mine make the trip every year to this race. And I've never been there. That's got to be a bucket list for me. So I just remember as a small kid, I was 5, 6 years old, and I got hooked on IndyCar. And I remember I had slot cars and Sizzler cars, and I would watch AJ Foyt and Bobby Unser, and I was really into that. I really enjoyed that back in the 70s. IndyCar isn't what it used to be, but it's still must-see TV, definitely.
Oh, definitely on that weekend. And this weekend, because it'll be on TV, the qualifying on Saturday is electric. Because you got everybody fighting to make the 33 cars starting grid, and then they take the top 10 finishers, and on Sunday, those top 10 guys, as the sun is setting and the track is cooling, those guys then fight for the pole, and there's an enormous amount of money that's available to the guy that gets the pole for the Indy 500. So if you're a lug nut head, Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and then obviously the following weekend will be the Indy 500. So it's a slice of Americana. It's such a cool place. And you're right. On that bucket list, in addition to your tour to go see every major league ballpark, you got to go to the Indianapolis 500 Hall of Fame at the Speedway. Spectacular.
Right on. At the old Brickyard.
Exactly. And you have an opinion on SDFC? Corner kick me an opinion on this whole Lozano mess.
Well, first of all, I'm just relieved that they won. I mean, it's been forever since they keep tying or losing. And I was spoiled for what happened last year. But this Chucky Lozano thing, there's clearly something going on that we're not fully privy to. And I understand there was disruption in the locker room. He and Mikey Veras didn't see eye to eye. But whatever Lozano did must have been so egregious that it made it impossible to bring him back, which makes me wonder, and maybe that might be the reason why he hasn't gotten picked up anywhere else, because everyone sees him as damaged goods.
Well, that plus the fact that who wants to pay him $7 million per year and have him on your cap? That becomes an issue too. And then what about the player? I mean, this player is committing professional player suicide. They don't want him. He's not signed off on a deal to go anywhere else. And now he gets left off the Mexican World Cup team, AKA end of career. How'd that work out? That's amazing to me because he was such a vibrant physical force player. So he has to share some of the blame for everything that's happening. But ownership made a significant mistake, given this guy with evidently his track record, giving him that type of contract.
The Trevor Bauer of Major League Soccer.
Okay, those are topics on the table. Because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we put topics on the table, and then we told you what we thought. Now it's your turn. Here comes Fans Forum. Once you involved, jump on board. You pick any of the topics we talked about. Feel free to join us. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Got projects, they got materials. Want ideas? They can be your best friend. They will be your consultant. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things that they have to offer. A reminder, have you ever checked my website? Check my website. It's all written. Best 15 minutes in sports, one man's opinion column, and we redesigned the website. Blame it on John. He wanted a different look. We got a brand new different website where you can access all the videos we're also putting up on our YouTube channel. So just go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Also, want you to register. On the right-hand side, there's an orange box. Join the Insiders Group because John and I put out 2 sports newsletters a day. People who have written us in Fans Forum say, thumbs up, that's pretty cool stuff that you guys make available. So you can get on the email list. Just go to my website, fill out that. You can help us grow this podcast. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Really helps us a great deal. John, I'm ready. I'm sure some people got opinions here. Here comes Fans Forum. Go ahead.
All right, Fans Forum, a little Dodger talk with Carlos. Hey, Shohei Ohtani's ERA is unreal at 0.82. He's an early top candidate for this year's NL Cy Young. What can't Ohtani do? MVP 4 times already, 50-50 homers and steals, and so on.
Oh, icon. I don't think, in all honesty, enjoy this. Dodger fan, treasure this. Baseball fan, they might be the evil umpire, but I'll tell you what, salute that guy. Because in our lifetime, guys, I don't think we're ever going to see this ever again. Now, I will also tell you, I think it was Wednesday. I spilled a cup of coffee sitting in my chair getting ready to write stuff for my website. When I looked at Ohtani's batting number, he was down to 233. I would have never thought in my lifetime Ohtani would ever have a 233 batting average. And I raised the question last week. I didn't get any response from Dodger fan. I'd like a Dodger fan to join us. Maybe he's in the wrong spot in the batting order. Maybe he should not be leadoff. Let him bat lower, get him on track, get him hot, get him to the plate with more base runners in front of him on base. He maybe looks at a different variety of pitches. But this unicorn, I don't think we're ever going to see this again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's going to go be in the history books. But, you know, we've been talking about how there's a lot of players that are getting off to really bad starts, on offense. Do you think anything to do with ABS is affecting the performance of the hitters or the performance of the pitchers? Well,
I talked about this last week. The collective batting average through the month of April into the first week of May in Major League Baseball was an all-time low forever, 243. The collective batting average of every team was 243. Baseball's never seen that before. Walks are up. Now, maybe that's got something to do with ABS. But pitchers still have to put the ball over the plate. Guys just are not making contact. I tend to think what's different in the game is guys are throwing so hard. I mean, everybody's doing triple-digit velocity, and there's so much bite to the stuff these guys are throwing. I think it's probably tougher for hitters to hit, and that's maybe why the collective batting averages are down. I don't think the ABS has an awful lot to do with it because they don't invoke ABS more than 4 or 5 times per game.
Yeah. But to your point, you're right. These guys, and Mizorowski last night for the Brewers looked unbelievable. How do you hit this guy?
I agree. I mean, what do you have? 10 pitches over 103 miles an hour. He retired 14 Padres in a row, struck out 11, and they took him out in the 7th inning because of a leg cramp. I mean, he's just amazing. Mizorowski, Paul Skeens is just, with the exception of one weird start, Skeens has been unhittable. And as Carlo just said, Ohtani's ERA is 0.82. Think about that. 0.82 in modern day baseball. So now we got a lot of baseball still to be played. Thank you for the input. John, next question.
Okay, here we go. We're talking a little MMA with you, Hacksaw, from Bat Fan. Thoughts on Carano-Rousey fight this week?
I go Rousey, but I'll be honest with you, I don't have enough time to pay very much attention to some of the other different sports that are out there. But Rousey's got a great rep. There's no doubt about that. I don't follow cage fighting. I just don't have enough hours in the day to do all that, but I know it obviously draws good TV ratings, etc. John, you follow cage fighting?
When I'm flipping channels, I will sometimes stop there, but I'm not the guy that shows up for the big fight, unless it was like, when it was boxing. Remember the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson? Yes. I made a point of watching that.
Yeah, but that was a bad display.
Yeah, that was a circus. But as far as UFC goes, it's interesting to watch it because of the rules are different, than traditional boxing and a lot of the other martial arts sports. I think it's a great enhancement to the whole, kind of smorgasbord of sports offerings. But honestly, I don't watch it all that often. One of the things that's interesting is there is a new station I found that just shows old boxing matches. And that's actually kind of cool because sometimes you'll get some Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler out there as well. So some of those classic fights I like. But, as far as MMA goes, we'll tune in. We'll check it out. I mean, Rousey's, she's a long-time champ.
The sport's changed. I think the arrival of MMA, UFC, has led almost to the death of professional boxing. It's led to the erosion of Olympic boxing. They're not the events they used to be. It's just, John, it's a different time. And that's the sense that I get from it. And maybe there's a sense of sadness because you and I grew up in an era where heavyweight class was really spectacular. And the middleweight in the Sugar Ray Leonard era and Stonehands Duran and all that's all gone away. That's all in the history book. It's not today's part of the sport, is it?
No. I mean, I have this memory, back when I was like 13 years old, I used to race bicycle motocross. And I remember being at a night race in Hayward, and people, like parents were there with their kids at the bike race. But at the same time, they were watching Muhammad Ali was against one of the Spinks brothers, like in the late 70s. And people remember back then, people had these portable televisions with like a screen that was like 3 inches wide, and people were watching that in the back of their pickup truck. I mean, the 70s was the classic boxing era.
Yep, especially for TV. And obviously the 50s and 60s was just unbelievable places to go watch fights. And then when it went to pay-per-view, it kind of went to a different level. But unfortunately, boxing has eroded in terms of fan following, etc., because of the growth of MMA and all that. Okay, thanks for the comment. We move on.
Let's go to Jay. Padres are a terrible team with a good record.
Yeah, I guess I'll sign that memo. It's early in the season. They're hanging around in this fight for first place, but there's a lot of games left. And at the end of the day, they're not hitting worth a lick. And at the end of the day, they have a real ragtag refugee pitching rotation. And I'm not banging on Buehler or Marquez or Canning or what they're going to attempt to do with Giolito. But at the end of the day, you can't, that type of pitching staff is not going to hold up for 162 games. And as I said at the onset of this podcast, I guess we're just going to have to take this on a start-by-start basis with starters 3, 4, 5, and 6 to see if these guys can give us enough quality starts. But this team's got to start hitting, as John was screeching. We can't have a pennant race team with a 222 batting average. Right now they're hanging in there, but I don't think they can hang on unless this team starts to hit. And at this point, I don't see any way they go get any pitching because there's no pitching out there to go get. And I'm not sure their budget would allow them to go get more pitching.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Griff Canning looked good in his first 2 starts, but today he was a disaster. And he just couldn't, he had no command, and he kept overcompensating, and the ball was like, for me, was either having to jump in the air or the ball was in the dirt, like just a 58-foot pitch or something. So it was a disaster today. And the hitting, up until the 9th inning, there was no hitting at all. And so it's a hard team to watch, but I tend to be glass half full, because if they can be in first place with this kind of a performance, imagine if Jackson Merrill and Tatis and Machado figure it out, then, the sky's the limit.
I don't know if I'd say sky's the limit, but at the end of the day, they'd be much more competitive. And I still got to believe these guys are going to find a way to hit, but they've not hit. And they didn't hit at the end of last season. And so even though they have the occasional wow moment, even though Sheets goes 3-run bomb again, that's the 3rd time this season he's hit a game-winning 3-run home run in a final at-bat, even though Castellanos saved him. At the end of the day, there's too many people not hitting. And you say, how the hell is this possible? But that's where we are. Okay, next one. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, let's go to Richard. Fans Forum. Hey, the Dodgers offense won't look like this all season. And even though San Diego's up by a half a game, they didn't take advantage of the LA losing streak. All you need to know about the Padres overall.
Well, we've just addressed that. They have shortcomings right now. I don't think they have solutions to shortcomings. The Dodgers situation, I think, is more triggered by health than it is anything else. I mean, they've got half their rotations dinged up. They don't have their closer. Ohtani's not hitting at all. I think the Dodgers have the ability to get hot and be stronger. I don't know that the Padres do. And I'm not downing on the Padres. I'm just telling you what I think based on what I've seen in the batting order and what I've seen, obviously, with the starting rotation. And I've been chirping at this rotation since they went to the Cactus League.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out more about this Dodger team, but I keep wondering, like you were mentioning earlier, are they going to wake up and then realize, oh my God, everyone's too old? I mean, is that a scenario that could happen in reality?
Well, it has not impacted Will Smith. There have been stretches where Freddie Freeman has tailed off. Mookie Betts has had injury problems now 2+ years in a row. Now he is back in the lineup. Ohtani is just spectacular, but he's north of 30 now. So I mean, there are some age issues here, and maybe they wake up and they're not the same bats that they used to be. I'm not going to declare that right now, but that historically that has happened. Guys get north of 30 and they lose their bat speed. I mean, should I link that to Machado? Machado's hitting 191, and they're going to owe him a lot of money. And he's north of 30, and he doesn't look right. He doesn't look the same. Is that age catching up to him? If he's lost his bat speed, wow. You're on the hook for $40 million for the next group of years with Machado starting next season if he's an older player who's lost his bat speed. And it happens to everybody. But so the Dodgers have to be a little bit concerned about mounting age. Padres need to be worried about that too.
Yeah, I agree. Let's keep going. We'll go to Callan. And he says, hey, afternoon, gents. I'm afraid I don't see Anaheim getting through Vegas, but I hope I'm wrong.
They're very good young team. Again, this is being in postseason is really different than we've ever had before. I will tell you this. They had an opportunity to seize that game by the throat. They got that 5-minute power play, and they scored right at the start of that 5-minute power play after that brutal McNabb hit on Paling, and they never scored again. And I was sitting here watching that, and I was losing my mind. You got to go to the net. You need to put guys in front of the net. Quit this fancy Dan figure skating and passing. Go to the net, put shots on goal, and ram home rebounds. Because if they could have scored a second power play goal with a 5-minute advantage or a third power play goal, that game is over. The series is probably over. Instead, they let them off the hook. And in Vegas, because of its veteran expertise and experience, started to storm the net and wound up scoring and winning. And this is tough. Have they made great strides? Yes. This has been such a great growth year for such a young team. And some of the veterans like Alex Killorn have really contributed. But, John, you got a 5-minute man advantage because of a major misconduct penalty and you only score one power play goal. That to me was a killer.
Yeah, definitely was. Lee, I have a question for you. In the world of hockey, we know that in the playoffs, the intensity is radically higher. What do you see any strategy that changes from the regular season into the playoffs in the NHL?
I use a favorite phrase. I've written this in one of my columns. NHL playoffs, all out, every shift, every night. That includes your third and fourth line guys. And that's why there are heroes that show up in the playoffs in the third and fourth round that are scoring goals that normally you would not expect during the course of the season. My problem is some of the refs have let too much stuff go on. McNabb in Vegas got hit with not only the game misconduct, he's the number one defenseman, he also got hit with a suspension because of a brutal hit. It was a careless, cheap hit that injured Paling. It's been open season on head hits. There's been way too much contact in the crease. Goaltenders getting run into, getting run over. Some of the refereeing, I think, has let too much crap gone away. You need to take guys off the ice if they're going to do it. It's hockey. It's not the World Wrestling Federation. It's not, can I hurt somebody to get them off the ice? And some of that stuff has happened in the playoffs. As we get deeper into the playoffs, it really becomes more hockey, and a lot of this other stuff goes away. But that to me bothers me because I've seen an awful lot of cheap stuff in the first and second round.
Every shift. Here we go. Yep. All right, let's go. Let's talk some Aztec basketball. This is with XX Revolution. For those prices at Viejas Arena, it'll be less attendance.
Well, some people of the opinion this is a quality product. We need to support it. But again, I refer back to every business decision San Diego State's made has been a mistake. The product is not right now where it used to be. It's going to be a mid-major for the rest of our life. That's just as the new landscape of college basketball. They're desperately trying to raise funds. But again, I was surprised. I'd gone back. I did not realize there were only 6 sellouts last season because I'm so used to the bedlam of being out there and covering it and just the noise level and the fan support's been phenomenal. But they have bumped the prices up. And again, to take these prices up farther with now a lesser product that didn't make the NCAA, and I think you're sentenced to the rest of their life being a mid-major now, even though you're going to the Pac-12, that's an issue. And, the pricing issues at San Diego State football have been horrible. And they grossly overestimated. They gouged the community, and the program fell. And it's not really come back. And then they finally, after 4 years, they cut ticket prices, and they've only sold 600 additional season tickets. For a Division I program to have 7,100 season tickets, when they opened the thing at 15,000 season tickets, now it's down to 7,100. So every business decision they've made, even though their rationale is we definitely need revenue streams, has not worked in their favor, and it's kind of turned off the community. Now, that being said, I'm shocked that this community, who had its heart broken when it lost the San Diego Chargers, did not wrap its arms around San Diego State Aztec football. Because Rocky Long and Brady Hoke did a really, really good job for a long chunk of time. But it wasn't marketed correctly. And now we're sitting here with a much different environment, and they made so many mistakes price-wise with Aztec football. I just don't know what's going to get them back. Because, John, going to the new Pac-12 is no different than being Mountain West 2.0. I see there's no lure there because you're not playing Oregon, and you're not going to have USC or UCLA making visits here or you going up there. So it's like Mountain West 2.0. So I'm just really kind of disappointed. And I'll add a side comment. We had conversation in past podcasts about this podcast, my coverage of the Aztecs, and there's some fan that does not agree with me, you guys ought to be doing a lot more in your podcast about the Aztecs. Well, the Aztecs need to do a lot more to make the media feel welcome. Do you know this? Spring football, you're allowed 30 minutes. Not every practice, just 30 minutes on the odd occasions to see them stretch. Very limited access to watching them work out. You can't report on anything that you see in terms of formations, things of that nature. So some of the coverage has gone by the boards because the Aztecs have boxed people out doing their job from the way it used to be. If you tell us we can't report on certain things, fine, but give us access to go to all the practice, not 30 minutes of stretching and then chase us off the field. So San Diego State, and it's happening in a lot of places in college football. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. And that's why I get up in arms when people say, oh, you aren't doing a good job on the Aztecs. The hell we're not. We're limited to what we can do in football, limited to our access. And I think it's been to the detriment of the program in terms of coverage.
Yeah, I mean, you got to partner with the media if you want to have people show up at the park, at the ball field. Whether it's in Viejas Arena or it's Snapdragon. So having an adversarial relationship with the media to me makes no sense. But I will say this is that Sean Lewis was tweeting this week about how in year 3, that was the year that Kent State took off. Now he's entering his year 3 season at San Diego State. Can you see this kind of all coming together for him?
I always believed that this was a pretty good hire because I think he knows football. He knows the culture. He's a teacher. He's got recruiting ties everywhere. But the difference between what he accomplished at Kent State versus today at this hour at San Diego State and across college football's frontier, John, the landscape's different. There's no continuity in college football. He's in his 3rd year of rebuilding with new quarterbacks, which means you got to spend the whole time teaching, not polishing, teaching the intricacies of what they're trying to run, and then hope it's ready by opening day and that you don't have any injuries. Of course, there's no freaking continuity. His quarterback situation is no better today than it was year 1 when he first got here. And the turnover it's been unbelievable how many players have come and gone through the program because guys are in or out of the portal. Guys are injured, guys retired, guys transfer, guys go to the NFL. So it's not the same now as it was when he took Kent State and he recruited a whole craft of players that he knew from the upper Midwest, but he had access and he kept them for 3 years or 4 years. Here, it's like he's holding them for 1 year and then they could leave. It's a new era, very, very different, very hard to build.
Well, yeah, it is a new era for sure. But I'm not about to blame San Diego State for these decisions that you were talking about, because so much of it was the result of COVID, because and the building of the new stadium. I mean, they had this nice run in the 20 teens. Then suddenly they're playing up in Carson, California. The fans are sort of kind of not showing up. And then the COVID happened and everything's changed. So I don't know if you can necessarily blame San Diego State for a lot of that.
They set the prices. They set the prices.
They set the prices on the tickets. I hear you there. But at the time when they set those prices, we knew it was expensive, but we all thought that this was a rising program, that this was going to take the Aztecs to the next level. And then that weird game in the heat against Arizona, and all of a sudden people soured on this. It was just odd. I mean, to me, I praise the Aztec program for making the investment and getting that stadium built. I mean, it's a really first-class facility. I mean, it's a shame that the way this whole thing is unfolded.
Well, I'm the one that coined the phrase fraud. Aztec for life, fraud. How could you have 150,000 alumni and nobody goes to the games? Everybody that I know who supported college football at their alma mater bleeds those colors. Nobody bleeds Aztec football. How is that humanly possible in a community that has 150,000 to 200,000 San Diego State alums? Granted, they're not all football fans, but Aztec for life, that's a fraudulent concept. I don't think it exists for football. And that's sad because we've had a really good run here. I mean, what Rocky and Brady did, and I believe in the potential of Sean Lewis. But at the end of the day, that administration, they price this community out of it, and the community is not forgiving them because the product hasn't been really good.
Yeah, well, the hoops program raised prices too.
Yep.
But in my opinion, that's good because the money is going to be used to fund the incoming recruits. And I'll say this: I've been to so many games at Viejas Arena. That is a first-class entertainment opportunity there.
Yep.
When they do those introductions and the people and the show is there, that is a lot of fun for even a casual sports fan that isn't necessarily following the team with close detail. It's a great experience to bring the family to.
Okay, we move on. Next topic.
Okay. Ladies line from Maggie. Hey, Lee, it's just not guys who listen. 2026, my buddy.
Maggie, I concur. Usually sports talk radio is driven by men, but it's great to have you on board. And if you got other sports fans in your email address book, tell them who we are and what we do. We invite them to be part of it. But thank you for joining us on the ladies line. That's great, Maggie. Nice to have you on board. Rookie of the Year candidate, right?
The ladies line. Okay, let's go to our buddy Joe down in Brazil. Hey, Lee and John, you're Padres MVP at this point in the season? Mason Miller, Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts. Keep the faith, Joseph.
Well, Sir Smoke has been pretty impressive. Mason Miller's got 13 saves and 13 ops. Now, he's had some trouble locating his fastball, but this guy's electric. I mean, he just seems to overpower people at home plate in the ninth inning of games. It's as if they have no idea where it's coming and how they can get their bat around on it. But I mean, it's early to say anybody's an MVP, but let's just see if they can prop up this starting rotation and get some quality starts. But I'm just really fearful that this is going to be a start-to-start situation for starters 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if that's the case, then how can you really stay in a baseball pennant race? But Joe's a massive Padre fan, and he lives in Brazil, and he watches us. How about that? We're in the air everywhere on the social media platform.
Hacksaw worldwide. Gavin Sheets love the dude, but what he's hitting like 215 or something like that. I'm not ready to give him an MVP trophy for the team, but it is good to see the national media really giving Mason Miller his props. And even Major League Baseball even embraced him and had him as the star in that commercial, for the Star Wars Major League Baseball promotion. So in my opinion, it's got to be Mason Miller.
Yeah, and it's so cool because now everybody's walking around town yelling, "Holy Sheets." How cool is that?
I love that. Okay, let's go here to Bo Bello. I remember relying on Lee for sports info before the internet became popular.
I was the internet before the internet, and I created something kind of unique because I had the ability to network with a lot of people, and I still do. I guarantee if you check my website, the written portion of my website, the best 15 minutes in sports, it's on my website every morning, or my one man's opinion column, you won't get that information anywhere else. Yes, we are talking heads on this podcast and we do graphics and all that. But what I write every day is a labor of love. And what I write is better than anywhere you can get anything else because it's a compilation. I like to say, you give me 5 minutes of your time, I'll give you the sports world. Ask John. When I exposed John to my website, he used words that I can't use on this podcast about the depth of the content. Am I right or am I right?
This is bleeping brilliant. No, seriously, your best 15 I like because it's sort of bullet point formatted. It's a quick read, and you feel like you kind of got immersion in all the big storylines of sports for that particular day. So it's good content.
Yeah, check it out. You'll like it. Subscribe to it so you can get on the newsletter. You gotta read our newsletters that we put out every day. And if you can, give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think. John, let's move on.
Moving on. Go to Bill. I am sickened by all the fouls in the NBA playoffs and the no-call traveling that occurs. 3-point game has killed the pick and roll.
Tell you what, it's been sloppy. The fouls are up 11% in this playoffs, the last 2 playoff rounds. The league says it doesn't have a problem. Everybody seems to have a problem with the officiating. And we saw some incidents, John, this past week that I've never seen. I mean, I've seen referees get in the face of coaches and players. They're tired of taking the abuse from these guys, and they're starting to give it back to the players. So NBA's got some issues here in terms of respect on the floor. That's an item in addition to this whole mess with the NBA draft lottery.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA just, to me, is just not the same. It's a different game. I mean, give me college basketball any day over the NBA because it's a more entertaining product. But as far as the fouls, I mean, what did you think of that Victor Wembanyama elbow?
I thought it was flagrant because it was well after the play, and he belted the guy well after the play. So I thought it was a flagrant foul, but this is the playoffs. I mean, he got fined for the ejection, but he didn't get fined for intent to injure, and he didn't get suspended, maybe because there was no injury related. But it looked pretty doggone flagrant. But that's a learning curve for a young guy that probably gets beat on a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of elbows and knees and everything else with Wembanyama. Yep. Quick one here for Tom. Hey, great program, Lee. Thanks for all you do.
Well, blame John. John's responsible for all this. He's the one that created this podcast. I do the content. And he's got us on every freaking social media platform there is on the planet. It's just absolutely amazing. It is a labor of love. We're just not two guys that show up and yell at each other for 30 minutes. I mean, we do 2 hours a couple times a week, and there's an awful lot of content. If you take that and add it to what I write on my website, it's a lot. But I'm glad you appreciate it. And I would just hope you guys would go to your Rolodex, go to your address book, message everybody. Hacksaw's back. Mondays and Thursdays, check the podcast. And by the way, check his website because it is bleeping brilliant.
The Rolodex. All right, let's take a look here at social media. We can fit a few of these in. And, here's a good one. This is from James. He goes, I've been a fan of Lee for over 35 years. When he started talking woke shit about politics and Trump, it was tremendous turnoff and an eye-opener. I ain't listening to a guy who doesn't have the discipline to stick to sports opinions. Good riddance.
Hey, I stick to sports 99.9% of the time. And when your president crosses the intersection into sports, we're going to have opinions on that. The only people that bark about us making comments about the White House are the far-right people who voted for him. If I asked everybody that was on the left, Democrat, independent, whatever, if I asked those people to join us, we would probably have no time to talk sports because they got opinions about what that man, your president, has done to this country. And by the way, you have a First Amendment right to say good riddance. I got a First Right Amendment to express my opinions on this podcast. 6 of one, half dozen for the other. Nothing wrong with that. But don't leave. Don't walk away. I don't want you walking down the street functionally illiterate because you're not paying attention to all the sports stories that we talk about day in, day out. You have a right to have an opinion. We have a right to have an opinion too. Am I right or am I right?
You're right. You're right. Okay, let's keep going. Talk about Major League Baseball. This is, talking about the owner of the Dodgers saying that baseball needs parity. This is from Graham. Hey, no, the problems are with cheap ownership, period. The Dodgers want to put a good product on the field, so they do everything they can for the fans and the players and their families. The Padres have a lot of good things going for themselves. They're just poorly run, like so many other teams in baseball. Pura Vida from Costa Rica by way of San Clemente, California.
Well, I'll tell you, at the end of the day, they just met for the first time. They, the union, the ownership negotiating committee, and they've kind of laid down a schedule of when they're going to have meetings on the new collective bargaining agreement. At the end of the day, salary cap, maybe. Luxury tax, yes. Change in the TV revenue sharing contributions, most likely. Florida spending has to happen. You can legislate how much revenue goes to each team through negotiation. Now, you can't legislate intelligence. Bad organizations are going to be bad organizations. Just because you're in a small market doesn't mean you're a bad organization. Look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's got an unbelievable record. People are still not going to the games. They don't spend a lot of money, but what they spend, they develop into a good product. End of the day, restructure the finances in baseball, force guys to spend more because they're getting more in revenue, force them to spend more, make the product better. That's what has to happen. Between now and December 1st, when the collective bargaining agreement expires, it's going to be a challenge because there's going to be a lot of negative things said. There's going to be a lot of anger. There's a lot of history here that they're going to have to work their way through. But at the end of the day, we have record TV revenues, record TV attendance, record TV ratings. Why would you do anything to screw this up? You know the formulas that have made the NBA successful. You know what the NBA and the NHL have done in terms of cap and floor to spending. Take the best of what the others have gotten and apply it to baseball and make it work. Don't die on the hill and say never, ever, ever, and screw this thing up, because baseball right now, John, is at an all-time popularity level.
Don't kill the golden goose.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they got to do. You got to keep this thing going. Hey, let's get in one final social media comment. This is from Mark. Talk about the PGA and bringing these LIV guys back. Penalties should be punitive, so members think before they leave next time. They should have to requalify. That's even worse than the $5 million.
Well, I agree. These guys got a lot of money from Saudi Arabia. I mean, if they're going to impose the Brooks-Koepka rule, which is a $5 million re-entrance fee, pay it. You made a lot of money. You violated your tour card. Pay it. And there really seems to be a resistance that's growing. Rory McIlroy's comment yesterday at the PGA Championships press conference that we do not forget, that bears an awful lot of notice there. I just don't think these guys are going to be allowed back in free. There'll have to be some common ground. We'll just see where it goes. Is the PGA healthy? Yes. Are the guys making more money? Yes. But is there a bad stain because so many good players left and disappeared so they could put money in their pocket? The Mickelsons, the Dustin Johnsons, the DeChambeaus. Yes, that's out there too. And I just don't think you can welcome them back because, by the way, they also sued them on an antitrust violation. That got thrown out of court too. So this story is far from over. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. I think if we're taking a vote, the background in my man cave, bookcases and historical books, is better than your background sitting in the corner like a kid in timeout with the white background paint. But we'll have to work on your background. But we're John's renovating studios. That's why we're doing a two-site podcast. But we're here Mondays and Thursdays, 1:30. We hope you've enjoyed this. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things that they have to offer. Reminder, help us grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. John, have a great sports weekend. We'll be back Monday at 1:30. We'll be talking baseball. We'll be obviously talking about the NFL schedules, news and notes, the NBA and NHL playoffs. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. Lee, you aside this weekend?
Saturday morning, 6:30-ish. I will be there. You should be up. It's damn good.
Yes, it is.
John, thanks for being with us. Have a great holiday. We'll talk to you again.
All right, bye-bye.
And thank you for you.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.